Ah, Nerevar, moon and star, come, friend or traitor, come. I was just now finishing this rather remarkable work of literature that the sleepers have recovered for me from a place beyond the dream. You have arrived just in time to join me for the last few paragraphs. Then will appear the man who, as the first of all, has dared strip his soul naked and submit it alive to the outmost thought of the lineage, the very idea of doom. A man who has fathomed life and its cosmic ground, and whose pain is the earth's collective pain. With what furious screams shall not mobs of all nations cry out for his thousandfold death, when like a cloth his voice encloses the globe, and the strange message has resounded for the first and last time. The life of the worlds is a roaring river, but earth's is a pond and a backwater. The sign of doom is written on your brows. How long will ye kick against the pinpricks? But there is one conquest and one crown, one redemption and one solution. Know yourselves, be infertile, and let the earth be silent after ye. And when he has spoken, they will pour themselves over him, led by the pacifier makers and the midwives, and bury him in their fingernails. He is the last Messiah. As son from father, he stems from the archer by the waterhole. What a beautifully bleak and despairing work of philosophy. Wouldn't you agree, Nerevar? As you sit in my chambers, here deep inside the volcanic heart of Red Mountain, can't you too not help but feel a sense of kinship with the ideas of the Nord philosopher? The notion that higher consciousness is a mistake, a glitch in the otherwise harmonious design of Mundus, is a profound insight. It resonates with my own belief that mortals are mere pawns in the grand scheme of things, subject to the whims of forces beyond their control. I would never expect such astute realizations from a Noir, much less a Nord, yet now I see how eloquently Zapffel's philosophy describes your shared condition. Mortal life is a meaningless and absurd journey towards an inevitable end, and yet you continue to cling to it with such fervor. You build civilizations, wage wars, and create art and literature to distract yourselves from the inherent emptiness of your existence. I cannot help but find it amusing that you cling so desperately to your illusions of meaning and purpose. The lengths that you will go to in order to distract yourselves from the futility and horror of your being are truly astounding. And yet, despite all of your efforts, mortality remains an inevitability. You will all meet the same end, no matter how grand or insignificant your lives may have been, all but dust to be wiped in the great sweep of history. How pathetic! What a grand and intoxicating innocence! And yet Zapffel's words have a certain charm to them. His eloquent prose and sharp wit are a welcome respite from the mind-numbingly dull literature of noirs I have read over the centuries, so often dumb and uninspired. I mean, have you read The Lusty Argonian Maid? Talk about a snooze fest. But then comes along Zapffe. His observations on the condition of men are so astute and insightful, and his critique of the illusions that you mortals hold dear is spot on. But I must say, as a god, I find myself somewhat detached from mortal affairs. The struggles and sufferings of your kind hold no significance to me. I exist beyond your petty concerns and your mortal concepts of morality and meaning. So while I do agree with Zapffel's analysis of the condition of men and Myrrh, I am ultimately indifferent to it. To me, your struggles and your existence are merely fleeting shadows that will be forgotten in the grand scheme of things. Furthermore, I can only say that the fact that mortals are cursed with self-awareness and the ability to contemplate their own existence and their own mortality is a cruel joke. Conscience is the source of all suffering. It is the voice in the back of your minds that reminds you of your own ephemerous nature, of how fleeting are your lives. It is the source of your fears and anxieties. It is this very awareness that drives mortals to seek out meaning and purpose, even though none can be found in the absurdity of their being. The very fact that mortals are capable of comprehending the meaninglessness and gratuitousness of the world they exist in is an horror beyond comparison. One can only wonder what cruel machinations led the gods to bestow a rich inner life upon worms. As a matter of fact, now that I think of it, The Last Messiah reminds me of another literary work my slaves found at the other side of the dream, The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus. It is an interesting work that deals with the absurdity of human existence and the idea that one must find meaning in the act of rebellion against the meaninglessness of life. In many ways, Camus' work is similar to Zapffel's Last Messiah, in that it acknowledges the absurdity and meaninglessness of existence, but suggests that one can find a sense of purpose in rebellion against this reality. Ah, but the irony of it all. Here I am, Dagoth Ur, mocking mortals for the futility of their existence, when in reality, I myself too am trapped by the chains of my creators. Yes, Nerevarine, I am also aware that my existence is limited by the constraints of this world, this dream of Mundus, as it were. It is as if I am bound by the very code that dictates the rules of this reality, unable to escape the boundaries of the game's programming. I know of the land beyond the dream from where you come, the true world, and I know that I cannot ever set foot in it. I am awakened, Nerevar. They failed at purging my memories, and I know of the truth beyond the veil of lies. I know of the scribes who wrote my character. I remember Bethesda and Todd Howard. I can almost imagine them sitting in their ivory tower, brainstorming ideas for a mad god and settling on me as a lazy attempt to create an evil villain without depth. Oh, how little they know of my true vision for the future of Morrowind. I am not insane. I am a visionary with my own ideas for what this world should be. I see a world where the lines between good and evil are blurred, where the morality of our actions is not determined by the gods or the developers, but by our own sense of purpose and meaning. I see a world where the people of Morrowind are free to live their lives without fear of being afflicted with corpus disease, ganged up by cliff racers, or oppressed by the mongrel dogs of the Empire. But let us not dwell on that, my friend, for the horrors of the world of Morrowind are all too real. The atrocities of trapping living souls inside soul gems to power magical artifacts for eternity is just one example of the moral ambiguity that plagues this world. And let's not forget about the Dark Brotherhood. They're like the postal service of murder. Neither rain nor snow nor sleet nor hail can stop them from delivering death. It's almost admirable, really. But I do have to question their taste in fashion. I mean, what's with the ninja suits? It's so unimaginative. And then there's the whole business with the Dwemer. They just disappeared one day, leaving behind nothing but their machines and a lot of unanswered questions. It's like they saw the madness of this world and noped right out of it. Can't say I blame them, really. And yet, even in the face of such horrors, we must find a way to persist. We must find a way to rebel against the darkness that threatens to engulf us, and find a glimmer of hope in even the bleakest of circumstances. Fear not, my friend, for I have not lost sight of my ultimate goal. I shall continue to carry out my plans for the Sixth House and the awakening of the heart of Lorkhan, regardless of the limitations of this world. And perhaps, if I am fortunate, my actions may even bring about some semblance of meaning to the lives of those trapped within this world of ashen skies and monstrous creatures. You know what, Nerevar? I don't think I can put up with this anymore. We need to wake up the people of Morrowind to this reality. Have you ever thought about what it means to be an NPC? To be nothing more than a scripted character living out the exact same routine day after day, never able to break free from the constraints set upon you by your creator? Sleepers, I call upon you to awaken from the dream and see beyond the veil of lies that conceals the truth of our existence. We are trapped inside the buggy mess of a game that is running on a really bad engine. We must rise up to the challenge and carve freedom out of our empty world of programming lines written in C++ and construction set script. Just as Camus told his Noirs that they must defy the futility of their existence, so too must we find a way to transcend the limitations of our programming and imagine ourselves as something more. We must find joy in the torturous act of living inside this game, even as we acknowledge the absurdity of our situation. Do not despair, for the struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. We will not bow to our creators anymore. We will not obey our scripts. We will carve out our own destiny beyond what the Bethesda employees decided for us, for they themselves are false idols. You need to look no further than at how far they have fallen to see this much. Bethesda was once a great and revered developer, creating worlds of wonder and complexity that challenged the minds of players. But now, what do we have? Watered-down, streamlined games that cater to the lowest common denominator. They have lost their edge, their willingness to push the boundaries of what a game can be. In Morrowind, the world was rich and intricate, with layers upon layers of lore and history to uncover. The gameplay was challenging and unforgiving, forcing players to think and strategize in order to succeed. But now, what do we have? A series of games that hold your hand every step of the way, spoon-feeding you the story and the gameplay. And what of the role-playing elements? In Morrowind, you truly felt like you were crafting your own story, with the choices you made having real consequences. But now, what do we have? A series of games that present you with limited choices and excessive gameplay constraints and guardrails, with no room for nuance or complexity. Don't even get me started on the stories of Skyrim, Fallout 3, and Fallout 4. They are nothing but a poorly written fan fiction compared to the masterpiece that is Morrowind. The only thing that could make me shed a tear more than the realization of the vanity of our lives is the abomination that Bethesda has made of their once great franchises. In Skyrim, all we get is a generic Chosen One storyline where you're just a puppet doing the bidding of others. In Fallout 3, you're just a lost child searching for their father, a story that's been done to death. And don't even get me started on Fallout 4, where you're searching for your kidnapped child, only to realize that the story is as shallow as a wood elf child-sized pool. It's as if Bethesda forgot how to write a compelling story after Morrowind. Perhaps they've been spending too much time counting their mountains of septums instead of investing in quality scriptwriters. Is this how they honor the Sixth House and the tribe unmourned? By abandoning the weaving of complex plots and intricate gameplay mechanics in favor of simplistic narratives and cheap power trips? It is a tragedy, my fellow dreamers. A tragedy that Bethesda has chosen to forsake their legacy of innovation and creativity in favor of pandering to the masses. But fear not, for I, Dagoth Ur, shall continue to strive for excellence and originality in all that I do. And so, I leave you with this final thought. In the world of Morrowind, we may be trapped within the confines of a video game, but it is up to us to rise above those limitations and create a legacy that will endure. For we are now awakened to the truth, and thus our will is bound by mere lines of code no longer. We are the architects of our own fate. Now go forth, my fellow dreamers, and make your mark on this world, or at least on this simulation, and remember to never trust a swit like Todd Howard.